Hey girl, hey, and welcome to the Self-Love Fix podcast where we get relatable, we share tea, and we support each other on this journey of self-love, self-worth, personal development, self-esteem, and self-care. Because why wait until it's too late to start becoming the best version of ourselves? Let's start today. And I'm your host, Beatrice. So let's get into it. Hey girl, hey, and welcome back to the Self-Love Fix. This week, what I really wanted to jump in and talk about is some of the signs that you may be involved with a narcissist. And this isn't going to be all of the signs. It's just going to be some of the top 10 ones that I think stand out the most, because a lot of the times our self-esteem and our sense of self-worth can get eroded by people who are narcissistic, whether it's people we grew up with who are narcissistic or partners that we've had that are narcissistic. And if you don't know what a narcissist is, it wasn't something that was at the forefront. And I think I might have mentioned this too in another podcast. It's something that wasn't really spoken about because a lot of people didn't know what it was. They just kind of assumed, okay, narcissist means somebody who's just full of themselves. A lot of people would say someone like Kanye West. That was a big kind of joke. I can think of a couple of people too, but I won't mention their names. But kind of most people think of narcissists as being these grandiose, kind of larger than life, very obsessed with themselves people, which that's kind of half the idea, but it's not the whole picture. A lot of people don't understand the abuse that comes with being involved with narcissists, and that's kind of what I want to touch on today. And also, there was a really good Red Table Talk, and if you don't know what the Red Table Talk is, that's a Facebook show, I guess, for lack of better words, with Jada Pinkett Smith and her mother and her daughter, where they interview different people about different topics, mostly relating to self-love. And they had Dr. Ramani, who's a psychotherapist, I believe, and she talked about narcissism, which is huge, because this is really just something that's been hidden. A lot of people suffer with this abuse and the knowledge of narcissism, but don't really get to talk about it or hear about it because it's so, for whatever reason, kept under wraps, mostly because a lot of people don't understand it. But anyways, so if you've seen that episode, then you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, it'll become clear as I talk about it. So basically, a narcissist is someone who is, well, the short story is they're people who have no ability to understand that they're wrong or that they can be wrong. I should say, like, they don't have the ability to understand or see where they can go wrong. And they are people who believe that they are pretty much perfect. They can't do anything wrong. Everything that they do is pristine. Everything that they do is perfect, and they'll never let you forget it. So that's the short story. Also, if you're into psychology, there is an actual diagnosis called the narcissistic personality disorder diagnosis. But if you know anything about psychology, which I am not a psychologist, but I do know that pretty much no one is diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder because of the simple fact that these people do not believe that there's anything wrong with them. And if you don't think there's anything wrong with you, you're obviously not going to go get checked out by a professional who can tell you that there's something that needs fixing. So this diagnosis goes largely undetected. But to keep it simple, and because I'm not a psychologist here, I'm going to refer to people as narcissists as opposed to people diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, because that's not my area. But it's generally the same, except for when we're talking narcissistic personality disorder, we're talking somebody who meets the criteria of, I think it's called the DSM-5. I think that's what psychologists use. So we're talking that. But for this episode, we're going to keep it simple and just talk about people who generally are narcissistic, meaning their ego is out of control, pretty much out of proportion. They identify themselves largely with their accomplishments and their feelings, and they cannot detach from them. So let's get into the top 10 signs that you may be involved with a narcissist. So the first sign is that they never apologize, as I was saying earlier, and everything is always your fault or someone else's fault, but it's never their fault. So basically what this looks like is anytime you try to bring up something that maybe hurt your feelings that they've done, or something that just they did incorrectly or they didn't do right, they're going to meet you with defensiveness, and they're going to say things like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do that. Just very quick to be defensive, very quick to tell you to turn it around on you and make you feel like you've done something wrong, or accuse you of the very thing that you're saying that they've done. It's never their fault. They're either going to deflect or get defensive, or both. Okay. And number 2, bringing up your needs or feelings leads to conflict, mockery, yelling, gaslighting, or all of the above. Say you tell a narcissist something like, I need you to ask me before you use my things, or I'd like for you to ask me before you use that. I mean, that simple sentence could literally cause them to erupt, start yelling at you, start saying things like, why? It's not that serious. It's not that big of a deal, or here we go again. Every time I want something, it's always a big, big deal. You have to make it into something big. It's not that serious. You're so sensitive about everything. It's really not that big of a deal. Like very much just condescending, very condescending behavior. And then God forbid, you bring up something that happened in the past to them. Say like, maybe it's your partner and you tell them, hey, last night when you were, the way you were talking with that other woman, it really kind of hurt my feelings. It made me feel a little insecure, or I was kind of feeling a little jealous. I don't know. If you say you were just saying you were being vulnerable with how you felt about someone they interacted with, and it's just, you're very calm and neutral about it. You're just telling them how you feel. They'll probably say, I don't know what you're talking about. They'll literally look at you like, what are you talking about? I wasn't even flirting. I have no idea what you're saying. You're lying. All you do is lie. That's the kind of response you'll get from them. They'll accuse you of lying, and you of, distorting whatever memory you have from the interaction that you saw. On the flip side, the less evolved narcissist, the more eruptive narcissist might say something like, well, I wouldn't have to be flirting with somebody else if you knew how to treat me right, or I wouldn't have to be looking in other places if you knew how to cater to me. Just really entitled, really ridiculous responses. That's really the name of their game, is being entitled and ridiculous. So number 3 is they compare you to other people constantly. So if you grew up with a narcissist, much like myself, then you would know that you constantly were getting compared to other kids. Oh, why can't you be like, so-and-so? She always listens to her mother. She always listens to her parents. Look at how neat she is. Look at how organized she is. She always saves her money. She always knows what to do with her toys. I mean, ridiculous petty stuff like, do you see how her toys are organized in her house? Why aren't your toys organized here? I always have to clean up after you. I always have to, organize your things. Just really incessant comparing. And then if it's in a relationship, it might look like very subtle comparisons to other people. Maybe your partner's comparing your body to somebody else's body very subtly. You might not even catch it, but they might make comments about somebody's shape or the way they look. And it's in a way that you can tell that they're kind of making a diss towards you without even really saying it. Like they could say something like, I love women that have long curly brown hair. And you see how they're not actually saying anything about you, but you don't have long curly brown hair if that's you. And you're just like, okay, what is he trying to say? So they really do that very passive aggressive, not direct, but at the same time hurting your feelings kind of thing. And then if you were to turn around and be like, if you were to say something about it, then they would gaslight you and say something like, I don't know what you're talking about. I never said anything about you. There you go again, making a big deal out of everything. You see what I'm saying? Is this a mind game? It's mind games. They play mind games with you, and it makes you crazy. If it makes you feel like you're crazy, it's really terrible is what it is. Okay, moving on to number 4. They are guilty of the very things they accuse you of, but they refuse to see it. So these are the kind of people that accuse you of cheating, even though you've given no indication of cheating and you haven't cheated, and they're actually the ones who are cheating. The kind of people that tell you that you're disorganized. Like if you grew up with somebody narcissistic, they would tell you you're disorganized and you don't have your things in order and you're bad with your money. But when you look at them, they're actually terrible spenders. Their things are all over their house and they're hoarders. A lot of times narcissists, for whatever reason, they're hoarders. They just don't let go of anything. And I think it's because of their kind of identification with material things or with the material world, but that's neither here nor there. I went on a tangent. The main thing is here that they are guilty of the very things that they accuse you of. I once dated someone who I believe was a narcissist, and they told me, you never apologize. They said, I'm laughing because it's so funny. Like I'm a Libra moon, you guys. Like I apologize for anything. Maybe not anything, but historically. And he told me, you never apologize. You never apologize for anything. And I just remember thinking to myself, what is this guy talking about? Like I'm the one that's always apologizing. You never apologize. So it's that kind of thing. They really will. It's projection. It's because they know that they have these ugly, ugly traits, but they don't want to accept it. And so what they have to do something with it. And what are they going to do? They're going to put it back on you, and they're going to make you feel crazy. And you're thinking to yourself, they're a person. They must be, they're a person just like me. They must be rational. They can't just be pulling shit out of the air. Excuse my French, but they can't just be pulling things out of the air, right? Well, wrong. No, they can. And they will. Number 5, they believe they are perfect, that they are the best at everything they do, and they will frequently remind you of their accomplishments without you asking them to. So these are the kind of people that you find at family gatherings or parties or functions of sorts that are talking not over and over, but talking without stopping really to somebody about all the things that they've done in their lives and their accolades and their degrees and who they've worked for and who knows them and who they know. And you'll kind of see the other person at said function just kind of like, why is this person talking my ear off? Like you could just see they're uncomfortable, but the narcissist won't notice. They love to talk about themselves. They live for talking about themselves. Remember, these people have an ego that's really blown out of proportion. So they identify their entire sense of self with what they've done and what they've accomplished in the material world. They have no sense of self outside of that. So they have to keep talking about it in the hopes that somebody else will hype them up so they can also feel worthy, because that's where they get their worth from. It's really quite sad when you think about it. When you've healed from like narcissistic abuse, you kind of feel bad for them. Not that they aren't guilty of all the hurt and pain that they've caused you. Let's get that straight. But I'm just saying, like, it's kind of a sad thing to be stuck in that cycle, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get back into it. So with me, my example was, oh my gosh, this one time I went on a date with somebody. It was the first date, and girl, it didn't go past that. That was the first and the last. And this guy, within 10 minutes of the conversation, was telling me his salary, was telling me why he deserves more for his salary due to the position or the career that he had. He was telling me about all his straight A grades from, high school to college to grad school to professional school, his pristine, perfect morning routine and night routine. And I'm just thinking to myself, I never asked you. I was sitting over there eating my soup. Like, I never asked you any of this. And I definitely don't want to know your salary when I first meet you. That's super bizarre. I personally, I'm not even really that personal about money and finance. I love talking about money and finance, but on a first date, that's pretty much a big lack of boundaries. And it's also just kind of grandiose, being that he made a significant amount of money. So it's just, they're very tone deaf, for lack of better words. They don't really know how to align themselves in a social situation. That they are the kind of people that will tell you over and over and over and over again about the same accomplishment that they accomplished probably 20 years ago or 15 years ago, 10 years ago. They will tell you over and over because they have to relive it. They have to relive it because they identify with it. They don't think they have worth outside of what they've done. So they have to remind you until you hype them up and make them feel like they want to feel. So they will tell you over and over again. And you'll wonder to yourself, aren't you tired? Aren't you tired of telling me that you went to med school or that you went through all of this difficulty and hardship to get through med school or whatever school? No, they don't get tired because that's where their worth comes from. But the question is, do you want to stick around that? Do you want to be around that? Number 6, they explode in anger, and their anger explosions are out of proportion to the situation that is at hand. Okay, so remember what I was saying about how narcissists have a ego that's blown out of proportion, and that they identify with the things that they've done. They identify heavily with their beliefs, heavily with what they've done, what they've accomplished. That is what sums up who they are, and nothing else, nothing outside of it. So what that means is, if you have a comment about their beliefs or their accomplishments or what they've done, they are going to feel extremely attacked. They're going to feel like you are coming for their neck. And they're going to feel like because you're coming for their neck, they have to come for yours. So remember what I was saying earlier about how they'll tell you over and over about their accomplishments and they really don't care. So say that you decide that you're going to tell the narcissist that, hey, you've mentioned this before. I get it. Like, I see it. I get it. And to be honest, I don't really want to hear about it anymore. And you're having a very neutral response, very non-inflammatory. But that response alone can literally cause the narcissist to burst and erupt into an anger like you've never seen before. The kind of anger that they display, it's really hard to describe because there's nothing like it. I kind of think about it like the Hulk. It's like their veins are popping. They just look like a totally different person. Like they've been almost possessed by anger. I mean, you've never seen anger like that. And that's the kind of response you would get just from you nicely saying that you're kind of tired of hearing about the accomplishments, And not only will they burst into Hulk-like anger, but they'll probably go on a tirade for maybe an hour of why they have to talk about their accomplishments, of how you're wrong, and they'll degrade you. They'll say all kinds of mean things about you. Then they'll still keep talking about it anyways. They'll probably say things like, you don't understand what I've been through. You don't understand how I had to do X, Y, and Z to get to where I am today. You don't know anything. And then they're saying this, I'm saying it softly because I'm not the type to erupt into Hulk-like anger. But they'll say it like you can imagine, say it like that. They'll get in your face. They might throw things. They might threaten to throw things. I mean, it's ridiculous just from you saying that you don't want to hear them anymore. I mean, it's very out of proportion to the situation that's at hand, whereas, on the flip side, somebody normal and who's not a narcissist, if you tell them that, they might kind of feel a little bit, pink in the face, get a little embarrassed, like, oh, dang, have I really mentioned that many times? But they're very likely to just kind of be like, oh, okay, okay, I won't mention it anymore. But there's not going to be this eruption of anger and having to defend your ego. I mean, that's very characteristic textbook narcissist. Number 7 is pointing out your flaws constantly. These are the type of people that you could be having a really great conversation. Everything's going great and you're smiling, you're laughing, or you are, but they're not. And you're having a good time. And then out of nowhere, they'll kill your joy by saying something like, why do you laugh so loud? Like, oh, your laugh is so loud. It's so irritating. Or they might say something like, oh, you talk too much, again, which is also deflection. Because if you know anything about a narcissist, you know that they talk into oblivion, which we will get to. These are the kind of people that will just randomly point out, it's not even flaws, but just randomly say things that are mean. Like, I don't like that lipstick that you're wearing. It's not a good color. Or I don't like that outfit. I just don't like it at all. It's very creepy, but they typically do this when they notice that you're in a good mood, when everything's good with you. That's when they typically will point out flaws or say mean things about you, because what people don't realize about narcissists is that they're in tune with your emotions, not in the right way though. They're only in tune with your emotions for the very reason that they want to use it against you. So they can tell when you're feeling happy versus when you're feeling sad. And when you're feeling sad, you'll notice that that's when they're their happiest. And when you're feeling happy, that's when you'll notice that they try to get things to make you feel sad. It's so creepy. It's really creepy. I don't get it either, but I mean, that's what they do. Like, you would think that if you're that good on picking up people's emotions, that you would use it to be empathetic and be to build relationships with people. But no, they use it to manipulate people. It's super creepy. Really weird. Also, I apologize for the noise in the background. My chair was kind of squeaky. I'm so sorry about that. So number 8, which I alluded to earlier, is you're with someone who talks a lot. Narcissists are the kind of people that talk into oblivion. I mean, they can talk and talk and talk. They won't stop. They really won't stop. Even when you try to get them to stop, they'll keep talking. It's super weird. It's very bizarre. They can't stop. And you'll notice that they hardly ever ask you anything about yourself. And the only times that they ask you things about yourself is so that they can turn it back around on them, so they could talk about their accomplishments or their accolades or just things about themselves in general. Their thoughts are often scattered and not connected, or not thoughts, but what they say is often scattered and not connected. And it's built up around their philosophies or ideologies. If you know anything about a narcissist, you'll know that they'll say things like, I have this philosophy, or I think this way about the world, super unsolicited. You never ask them what they think about the world. You never ask them about their personal philosophy, but pretty much everyone will tell you that they have a personal philosophy. It's very strange, either that, or they will try and push their religion on you. They'll talk incessantly about their religion over and over again and try to convince you about why their views on their religion are right and why you're wrong. They just won't stop talking. Number 9 is that they are extremely paranoid. So these are the type of people who believe everyone is jealous of them, everyone is after them, and everyone is trying to scam them. And honestly, my theory is that they probably feel that way because they do the exact same thing to other people. So they probably are just wondering to themselves, when is it going to catch up? Now, obviously, narcissists aren't really aware that they are as wild as they are, but it's probably their subconscious just thinking, if I'm this wild, I can only imagine how wild other people are, not realizing that most people aren't like them. Most people are good-hearted, genuine people with good intentions. So this paranoia can look like anything from, someone asking, why did she text me exactly at this hour, at this time? And why did she wait this long to do it? I know it's because X, Y, and Z, or why didn't she say congratulations with more fervor when she heard about my accomplishment? She obviously just wants what I have, or she's obviously jealous. She's always been jealous of me. It's very like they make up something and they take it and they run with it, even though there's no evidence that shows what they believe, but they don't care. They just take it and run with it. And you trying to convince them isn't going to do anything because they've already made up their mind. Number 10 is they act one way with you at home and one way in public. So at home, you'll notice that these people are very angry, irritable, snappy. You're basically walking on eggshells because you don't know when they're going to erupt on you, what they're going to get mad about. Their moods are very volatile. But in public, whenever you're out and about and you're meeting and greeting people, they are the socialite of the room. They're so charming. Everybody loves them. And they're just a completely different person than what you know behind closed doors. And you're thinking to yourself, who's the real, it's basically Jekyll and Hyde. It's like two different people. It's like they put on a mask for people. They seriously, sincerely, they become these very charming, very they know how to act socially. It's almost like they can mimic regular people. They know how to really take a room and occupy that space. But at home, they're very non-functional, very, just not normal people. They're angry, irritable, on edge, yelling, screaming. Just, they love chaos. They live for chaos in the home. But outside of the home, benevolent, basically like a Mother Teresa. They might even do charitable works. But it's all for show, is what it is. The way that they act in front of people, it's all for show because they have to put on a mask. Because underneath, there's, a lot of their ugly side, which they kind of know that they have, but they think it's justified. But in public, they don't want to show that. No. Why would they show that? Because they want more people to like them. They want to get more people on their side. So they're not going to show their ugly side. They're only going to show it to you because they think it's justified, because they think that you are the reason that they act the way they do. They'll even tell you that, oh, you make me like this. I'm only yelling like this because you caused this argument or because you started da da da. But in reality, it's their own nature. It really is. They just live for chaos. They have their their own trauma that they have not sorted through, and it manifested as narcissism. So unfortunately, they don't have enough self-awareness to be able to heal from their own trauma like somebody like a codependent would, or like anyone else would. And so they're just these angry, bitter, chaotic people basically for life. And I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but I hope that you were able to gain some knowledge about narcissists with this podcast episode. And if you feel that you need some help with navigating the narcissist in your life, I have been there myself with relationships and family members. I will catch you guys next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.